and I am back with another edition of So What Success Stories. And that's stories of people who have achieved success in spite of any obstacles that they faced in their life. And today I'm super excited to be talking to my friend, Martin Truitt. And Martin Truitt is a channel manager at FedEx Services, my old employer. And I've known Martin probably, 20 years? I guess 20 years, all the way back. Woo! Time goes by fast, huh, Martin?
Yeah.
But I've known Martin 20 years. And one thing that I will never, ever, ever, ever forget is that Martin was the first person to buy a copy of my book. And I don't even know if you remember that, Martin, but that meant the world to me. I was out and I'm like, I got a book now. I'm trying to sell this book. He was like, how much are they? Give me one. And I was like, oh, you want one? And that was the time when I was like, well, only teen moms will want this. But he was one of the first people, the first person to buy a copy of my book. And it meant the world to me. So thank you, Martin. Now tell us a little bit about yourself.
So Martin Truitt, born and raised here in Memphis, proud graduate of the University of Memphis. I've been a lifelong Memphian, still involved in a lot of things here in Memphis, from Fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi to the 100 Black Men to you name it, I'm in it, I do it.
That's right. And Martin has actually also served on committee eradicating systemic racism with me at the University of Memphis and contributed to that important work. And I'm really honored to know you, Martin. So let's get into these questions because like I told you before, I love sharing people's stories because I know it will encourage and inspire people. So in this program, I like to share what I call is the So What Success system. And those are the steps that need to happen for someone to achieve success in spite of any obstacles they face. So that's overcoming obstacles, eliminating excuses, calculating choices. And that equals so what success when you put all those things together. So my first question to you is talk to us a little bit about some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome and just how you overcame those obstacles so that you could be successful.
Okay. So I'll tell you one of the main ones I had and truly affected and changed the direction in my career. Back in 2010, I was the finance manager for Discover Card. Discover had a processing center in Memphis. I was the finance manager for the entire center, average budget, upwards of $120 million. We handled all Discover Card accounts for the eastern half of the United States. Doing well. I got my MBA in finance, so this was my career choice, and I was good, set. Then here comes the recession. So with the recession, and I'm, a lot of people understood, but I don't think they truly understand the dynamics of what was going on. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people were having problems. They were trying to continue to pay their bills and maintain. And a lot of people had credit cards. A lot of times you get credit cards, they send them to you free. You had them in the drawer, zero balance. People were getting them out, charging them up to the limits, then trying to write them off because they had to, or they would file. Well, on the flip side, that hurt credit card companies. Credit card companies took on a lot of debt immediately, and a lot of people filed bankruptcy. That was debt that we couldn't recover. And because of that, Discover Card, along with a number of other credit card companies, but they had to lay off. So I got laid off because they closed the center here in Memphis, closed another center in Dover, Delaware, and I believe they closed another one in Utah. So had to lay off a lot of people. So I was without a job in the midst of the greatest economic recession since the Great Depression. And that was tough.
I can imagine.
And especially in my career path in finance at that time, it was tough. So it took a while for me to find a job. And, during that time, I'll tell you, it actually took me 14 months to find a job.
Wow.
And, I was scared because I had a wife.
That's what I was going to say. You have family?
Family. I got a 3-year-old, and I have bills and, normal things that everyone has. And I'm trying to figure out, of course, we got a severance package, but severance is going to run out. So what am I going to do? And it was a struggle. And I'm getting worried because, I have things, responsibilities I need to take care of. And I had to look at a career change because finance was kind of volatile at that time because of the recession. The markets were tanking, finance companies were not really hiring. And it was a reality check for me. And I had to look at doing a career change to be able to take care of my family and, get back to work and do the things that I wanted to do.
Well, let me ask you this question because you're alluding to it. Because first I'll say this. I saw what happened because I was at FedEx at the time, and a lot of people at FedEx lost their jobs during that time. And that was a scary time for me too. I thank God that I did not lose my job. I was still working, but it was still scary for me because that was the first time in my life that I saw people walk off of the job.
Right.
And some of them were people who got hired when I did and had gone through orientation with me. And but that was a wake-up call for me too, that it can happen and it can happen to anyone. So it was scary, and it really kind of made me even look at things differently in my life and start saving differently and, reevaluate a lot of things, like I think COVID has done for a lot of people too, right? But the second part of the So What success system is eliminating excuses. So you had that obstacle, and I'm sure you had plenty of other obstacles in your life, but we all can make excuses, right? For why we're not successful, or why we aren't going after our dreams, or why we aren't pursuing our goals. What are some of the excuses that you maybe have made, or some of the excuses that you could have made and you chose not to make because you wanted to be successful?
Well, of course, in that situation, after, 6-7 months, you start feeling down, and then, as you're saying, making excuses. Well, it's not my fault. Why do I deserve this? Why is this happening to me? I was doing my job, was doing great on my job. And, I shouldn't be going through these struggles or things like that. And I'll be honest with you, I thought back to something I learned pledging my fraternity. And it said, we would ask, what are excuses? And it said, excuses are tools of incompetence. Nothingness, and those who use them seldom amount to anything. And that really stuck with me. And I started thinking about that. And I said, it's you're right. It's not my fault, but I still have responsibilities. It's life. Deal with it. What doesn't kill you makes you strong. And so I started looking outside of my comfort zone. I got out of my comfort zone of, I've been in finance. I know finance. I started looking at other opportunities where I could take my experience and be successful. And, eventually that's how I landed at the Home Depot in a different role from finance. I became the district services manager. So there I managed all of the install programs. So anyone who comes out to your house that does flooring, kitchen, roofing, new kitchens, any of those things, water heaters, I managed those providers, those programs in the stores, the contractors for 19 stores across 3 states. Totally different change from what I was doing before.
So like before COVID, when now, like with COVID, the words pivot, right? Everybody's been pivoting. So you've been pivoting for a long time. You learned how to pivot a long time ago.
Yes. I mean, totally different. Finance, I'm sitting behind a computer dealing with numbers and spreadsheets. Here, I'm actually having to cover different stores, dealing with store managers, dealing with customers. And sometimes, and this was truly a pivot for me, because I'm dealing with sometimes irate customers, because if the issue got bad, if they messed something up at your house and it got past the store, I was the one that had to show up and get it corrected. And by the time I got there, I was called everything but a child of God.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you were doing all that.
Which I understand. It didn't bother me. I just let it blow off, because you understand this, your home is your castle. That's your place of refuge. And so when someone comes in and you believe they've done something wrong, and if they've actually done something wrong to your house, of course, you're going to be livid. And if it's rectified yet, so by the time I got there, oh, yes. So,
because of course, you understand people are making investments. I'm a homeowner myself, and I put myself in that situation too. I think that's interesting though, how you were able to use those skills. And I think that's an important lesson for people watching, is those some transferable skills, right? And then the skills you didn't have that transfer, you acquired them, right? You did what it takes to learn them. And that's part of the eliminating excuses. It's like, okay, how do I move forward from this? How do I do something different?
Right.
And also, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's just like you're saying, it truly was a learning curve, but instead of making excuses, I thought about it. When I got to college, I had to learn some new things. When you graduate from college, you learn new things. You learn about being a homeowner. You learn about insurance. You learn about repairs that you're going to have to make when you buy a home. Unlike an apartment, something breaks, you call the apartment owner. Home you own, it's on you. So it's life, and that's how I looked at it. With this job, I'm going to have to learn something new to be successful and to continue to survive. So quit making excuses, get out there. And I kept looking, kept applying, got this job. And yes, it was a learning curve. It was a steep learning curve. But as you said, I had to pivot, and I did it.
And it taught you an important lesson, right? I'm sure, because that means you can do that again. Mm-hmm. That means you can do it again if you decide you want to do something different, and you are doing something different than what you just described anyway, right?
Somewhat. So now I'm at FedEx, and I'll say in the area I'm in, compatible solutions team, it's somewhat similar. So there at Home Depot, I was managing contractors in these programs. They're contractors, and a lot of it dealt with compliance and things, because of course, you know, if you're familiar with anything with home construction and renovations, a lot of it requires compliance with local and state code enforcement. Well, the program I'm at FedEx, in the compatible program, these are providers that integrate into FedEx, that are third-party shippers that online, like people such as you have an online business, you're selling things online. You may use one of these companies to manage your shipping and manage your inventory and things of that nature, and they offer multi-carrier capability. They integrate into FedEx. My job, manage the relationship with them at FedEx in terms of marketing, but making sure they're compliant as well with all of the rules and regulations that we require.
Yeah, that's cool. And again, you were able to use what you learned, apply it over there, make some adjustments where you had to. Yep. I think that's cool. And I'll tie a bow on the excuses part with, I always think about the same thing. Excuses are tools of incompetence. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of it, monuments and nothing. I'm like, I'm not trying to build monuments and nothing. And so anytime an excuse comes, I try to think of what's the solution? What's the solution? How do you get past it? Well, the third part of the SOA success system, so it's overcoming obstacles, eliminating excuses. And in my opinion, if you can do this third thing along with overcoming obstacles and eliminating excuses, and that's calculating choices. That's making some good choices in your life to get to where you want to be. That equals SOA success, and that's success in spite of your obstacles. What are some of the choices that you've had to make in your life?
Well, I think the first thing is looking at and understanding the big picture of any decision I'm going to make. Mm-hmm. What is the outcome going to be? And is that outcome what I want it to be? Is it going to be a desirable outcome? What is my future going to look like? Because everything you do has consequences. And I think that's the main thing I look at with my decision making. What is the outcome going to be for me? You know, you can start out, it's easy to get in trouble, but it's so hard to get out of trouble. And me, I like to try to make things as easy as possible, because, you know, some people learn the hard way. I don't like learning the hard way. You know, and I look at, you know, others, and I try to, in mentoring and giving others advice, like, did you not understand what your consequences are going to be? And I think that's the main thing I use in terms of making decisions, is what is the outcome going to be? Is it the desirable outcome I want it to be? Is it where I want to be, or is it going to lead me in the direction I want to go in? Or is it just a quick fix? And sometimes you have to look, and sometimes the hard road is the road that's going to get you where you want to go. And you have to make those tough decisions and go back to, like you said earlier, don't make any excuses. You know, everything in life is not going to be a cakewalk. But to get where you want to be, is this the path you're going to have to take? And if it is, you know, suck it up and do it.
And suck it up and do it.
And that's it. You know, that old Nike, just do it.
Just do it.
Yes.
I like that, because that's what it comes down to. I think sometimes we act in the moment and we don't think about the end game. We don't really think about the end game and the choices that we need to make along the way to get where we are trying to go. You mentioned something too that that we didn't talk about before, and I would like for you to talk about a little bit, because it's really special to me. You said with mentoring, and you are a mentor, you have been a mentor, you had a really tough, I'll say it, tough job, I'm guessing, as an advisor.
Yes.
So that'll take me to the last question. So hold that. So one question I have before I'm going to get to that is, how do you define success?
Success is, to me, success is when you feel happy about what you're doing and you feel that you're making an impact. Success is not always tied around money. And I think a lot of times people get caught up, you know, I'm successful if I'm a millionaire, if I have this much money in the bank. That's good, you know, because I don't want to minimize money. You need money. You need money to pay your bills. You need money to live the life you want to live. And then when you want to help others, you know, you have to have money. You have to have income to be able to bless others. You know, we're blessed to be a blessing.
Absolutely.
And you have to have resources to be able to be a blessing to others in that capacity. But, you know, to me, success is when you're happy with your life and you feel that you are making an impact and your life is where you want it to be, then to me, you are successful. I'm successful in my career because I'm able to achieve, I'm able to help whatever, you know, company I am to be successful. To me, that's success. And with that, promotion. So, and of course, with promotion comes more money. But in that, I want a happy life. I want balance. I want to be successful in my career, but I also want to be a good father. I want to be a good husband. I want to be respected in the community. I want, when people see Martin, they have good things to say about him instead of, if someone sees you coming, they want to go the other way. That's
not success, and it doesn't matter how much money you got, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
If you want to give you, then to me, you're not successful. You're almost a menace to society. And in my mind, you know, that's not something I want to be.
I love it. I love it. I think that's a great definition of success. And kind of back to our other question, because you also help other people to be successful. You've done that. You continue to do that. As advisor of the undergraduate chapter of Kappa Beta chapter, Kappa Alpha Psi, I know you've really poured into the lives of those young men, and I know you continue to pour in the lives of a lot of young people and older young people like me. What advice would you give to someone who wants to be successful, but by their own definition of success, but they're running into some obstacles? And this could be a young person, student, or it could be a young professional, maybe somebody later in their career, and they maybe want to make a pivot like you've done. What advice would you give?
I would tell them first, stop and think about what you want to do. I mean, think about what makes you happy. And a lot of times we get into jobs, and I'll say we get into majors, you know, going into college, because I initially got to the University of Memphis. I want to be a doctor because, you know, everybody a doctor. So
That's you're gonna be rich if you become a doctor, right?
Until I got to organic chemistry, that was an eye opener, and I realized I did not want to be a doctor anymore because organic, I like oil and water. I took it the first semester and it took me. Let's just change that around. I didn't take it. It took me. And the second semester, I said, I'm gonna buckle down. I'm gonna do it again. That's just wasn't my forte. And I stopped and I thought about it, you know, and I thought about, okay, what do I want to do? What do I like? Well, actually, math was my favorite subject. I tutored math through Maurice Williams, got me involved in the Each One Teach One program when I was at the University of Memphis. And I used to tutor.
Shout out to Mo, that's good.
Got my guy Mo always. And that's how I ended up switching and changed my major. So that would be my thing, is to stop and think about what is it you really are passionate about doing? What do you wake up every day and you feel good about doing? And look at that in terms of what direction you want your life to go, where you want your life to be. And then, you know, from there, look, you know, you can look at career choices, you can look at starting your own business, you can look at getting involved in a lot of different activities in the community that could lead you to different paths, because what makes you happy is what's going to drive you. And that's what you feel good about getting up and doing every day, because no one wants to get up every day and just say, oh, I'm just going to this job just to get a paycheck. You're not going to be successful at the job with that attitude, and you're not going to be happy with yourself, and your life is not going to be happy. So why do it? You know, you only live one life. You know, a good friend of ours, Relis Sanders, says, keep the party going. And in his message, you know, and I've talked to him about this, and in it, it's like, you know, do what makes you happy. You only have one life. This is not a dress rehearsal. You have one chance at this thing called life. So make it happy. Make it what you want it to be. And if you want to be successful, do what makes you happy, and that will drive you to that success.
That's great advice, Martin. That's great advice. Look, you dropped the mic. That's all I would say too. I think and that's what it comes down to. It's about doing what makes you happy, and it's not chasing the money. And I'll even say for me, that's why I even made the shifts and the changes that I've made in my career path and following what makes me happy. And just like you said too, that's not why you get up you got to find that thing that's you're passionate about to make you get up in the morning, and that you'll be willing to stay up late for, that you can make some sacrifices for, and that you want to continue to give back. Well, I see it in you, and I'm grateful to know you. I'm really blessed for our friendship for over 20 years now. That's like every time I say it, I'm like 20 years.
Yeah.
But look at us, we still look 20, don't we?
Almost. I'm gonna shave all this gray off. I just COVID decided to let it grow, and I joke with folks, and I say, they're like, you got all that gray. I said, yeah, that was from being an advisor. But it was an eye opener. I'll say it's a challenge, but a lot of those guys I still talk to, still friends with. A lot of them still call me for advice, and I'm happy I did.
I think that's great, but see, that's the thing. Two things you said in there. One, I don't think you can ever go wrong when you are pouring into the life of young people, and we'll never. I don't think sometimes we'll never know fully the result of our work. Sometimes we may see it immediately. Sometimes we may not see it as they grow up and go on and do live their lives and go, if they're separate, you may never know the impact that you have made. So I say hats off to anybody who pours into the life of young people. Go ahead.
You have to. I mean, somebody poured into my life, and if you don't pay it forward and pour into the lives of others, I mean, you're not helping others to be successful. And we see it in the news all the time. We see all the young children and young kids that are going astray. They're, going the wrong path. They need some guidance. They need some help. And it's up to us who are successful, and a lot of us who've been in their shoes, and we were able to overcome those obstacles and be successful. We need to give back. I mean, because if we don't, then we can't expect them to do better if they don't get the help, and we are the ones that can provide the help to them.
It's imperative that we do that. It is. The other thing you said was it was challenging, and I'll wrap up here. It was challenging, but the beauty in challenges is all the lessons that you learn from it, right?
Absolutely.
The lessons that you learn.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I look at that, even with mistakes, you learn from your mistakes. I don't look at mistakes as failure or downfall. I look at it as a learning opportunity. What did I do wrong here that I can learn from to do better next time? Or in terms of, that was a mistake I did. I don't want to go that way again.
You're right.
Different path. So you learn from your mistakes, and that helps you become a stronger and better person.
And like you said before, you learn from your mistakes, and you can learn from other people's mistakes too. So you have to make them right.
Yes, I saw some things my brothers did, and my mother was tough. She still is. And I saw my brothers do some things. I was like, okay, let me write this down. Won't do that one. And questions of it. So I was like, yeah, won't do that one.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Martin. This has been a pleasure. And I'm just honored because I know this is going to help a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.